he was one of the players that ended up top 8ing there. And we'll see if he can top 8 this large one as well. As we are underway here in game number 1, Dickmann with just a Misty Rainforest passes it back to Nguyen, who has a Scalding Tarn. He'll pass back.
It's going to be funny when TO's if a TO has a 2,000 person Grand Prix and is disappointed.
Yeah.
It's like, man, there have only been like a dozen of those ever.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. I don't know if you were at this one, Grand Prix Hurricane, basally the one in Philadelphia. Yeah, where.
Dude, I'm everywhere.
Yeah, fair enough. You know, where that tournament was like 1,800, 1,900 people. I remember that, and it's just like that's a really big tournament. It's just like yeah, it's pretty big relatively, but not as big now.
Yeah, well, and part of it is you got to remember. Not every Grand Prix is going to have the unique advantages. I mean, this is a unique tourist destination. People want to come to Richmond, Virginia, and are just going for the experience.
Yep.
It's modern, the most accessible, easiest to get into format, and the timing is right. Everybody's on some kind of a summer break or perhaps Christmas vacation. This is the perfect time. All the cards were laid out in favor of this tournament, and that's why we've seen the spontaneous eruption of this tournament that happens to be held by Star City.
You've never been more correct.
Definitely. So, turn 1, both players playing fetch lands. We've done this dance before. I can only imagine how many lifetimes have been spent searching people's decks for land as a result of this this particular feature of the modern format.
You know, some people are anti-shuffling. I actually love shuffling. I actually do. Like just fetching and then shuffling a deck and presenting it. I like shuffling as Dickmann's going to play a Steam Vents and pass the turn back. Now, let's analyze this here. Now, he's taking 2 to do this. I don't think he has a great idea of what he's up against at this point. He's going to play a Deceiver Exarch in the main phase right now. And again, this doesn't mean that he has land splinters when I'm going to kill you next turn. This is simply saying, all right, I've got a Deceiver Exarch. I'm going to play this, and I'm probably going to try to tap your Steam Vents. And you overreact as you will.
What's also interesting about this is that Nguyen has Blood Moon, but once the Deceiver's on the table, the Blood Moon doesn't do anything here.
No, it's true. I mean, it'll help.
Lock out the green cards, I guess.
Yeah, and Dickmann already has, 2 red mana, and this would obviously provide him with plenty of red mana to cast a Splinter Twin. So, the thing I love about these twin decks, not even just Tarmo Twin, but this twin deck in general is, all that Dickmann is doing is casting Deceiver Exarch. This doesn't mean anything really. It's threatening, but it also is just like, well, you can overreact if you want to, or it's just I'm just playing a 1/4, man. What are you panicking for?
Did he just bolt Dickmann's face? He's got bolts in his hand. Don't you just play do nothing and then just threaten to double bolt the Deceiver if he puts a twin on it?
Yeah, I think he's got 3 bolts in his hand too. I'm a little surprised to see that just go upstairs.
Do you think he's trying to sell the idea, I don't have another bolt, I'm gonna bolt your
That's a strange one.
That is so aggressive.
Yeah.
That's just so unbelievably aggressive. I guess he's selling the I'm a burn deck or I'm Storm or something. I don't know.
Okay. All right. We're going to see him sacrifice. We will see, Nguyen sacrifice a Scalding Tarn here. He's going to sacrifice both of them. Get this out of the way. We'll see what Lancey's going to search up. This will be interesting, too, because, again, I don't know if Dickmann knows what he's playing against here. So, if you're you want to go basic hunting, but do you want to go basic hunting as well? Because do you want to give away the fact that you're probably a Blue Moon deck by searching for basics as opposed to just not getting 2 Steam Vents and passing?
Yeah, I think he just dropped the Blood Moon. He missed his land drop. Get in with it, getting's good. You don't have any real plan against anything anyway, so you might as well drop the Blood Moon, hope that he's a little bit mana screwed by it, and just try to give yourself a few turns to draw into some action.
As far as Dickmann's basics are concerned as well, for those of you guys wondering at home, he's got 2 islands, 1 forest, 1 mountain. So if a Blood Moon does come down, it'll be difficult for him to actually find blue mana to start doing any sort of cantripping or casting more Pester Mites or Deceiver Exarchs.
Yeah, and without any fetch lands in play, he doesn't have any realistic way of finding those. But what he does have is the ability to just drop Splinter Twin or Kiki Jiki.
And here's a Pester Mite now. And again, this isn't this thing where Nguyen has to panic, but it's a real concern for him because, again, even Dickmann didn't play a 4th land. You don't know if Splinter Twin's hiding out there or not.
It's so tough when you bolted his face last round to just suck it up and bolt the Pester Mite here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of just a, that's a concession on principle.
Yeah. Nguyen's going to take a draw after Pester Mite does tap the island.
That's interesting, choosing the island instead of the Steam Vents.
A little surprised, I agree. I'm sure there is a method to Dickmann's madness, but we will find out. You see, Nguyen does have a Batter Skull in his hand, also has a Blood Moon, going to play the Misty Rainforest.
And now he gets to actually drop the Blood Moon without having to fetch up a Steam Vents untapped.
So that's what he's going to do. He's going to sacrifice the Mysterious Force. Again, we're going to see if he's going to search for a mount, or excuse me, he can search for an island or a steam vents. And I mentioned steam vents because, yes, it'll get turned into a mountain, but he has double lightning bolt in his hand, and he might actually need that. Access to 2 red mana. But also, by searching up a third island, that gives him access to actually being able to cast one of his 2 cryptic commands. So there's a trade-off here.
Yep. So we're going to see the Blood Moon here, right?
Yeah, I think we have to.
I mean, the way he's played the game, he's been leading towards Blood Moon. And it looks like he's going to try to do the Blood Moon, slow the game down, and drop a Batter Skull. But my goodness, he's not that far away from getting Splinter Twinned if Dickmann draws one more land.
I guess I will be surprised if we don't see Blood Moon hit the table here.
It's interesting, with 2 bolts in hand and no blue cards, you would think he would go get the Steam Vents just to have a plan against Splinter Twin.
Yeah.
It would cost him so little.
And there is Blood Moon, so Dickmann's got a whole bunch of
And I hope he just had the 4th land all the time.
That would
just make my day.
That would be, wow, that would be gross if that's what he had. He's going to attack here for 3. Going to put Nguyen down to 13 and just pass the turn back. With Dickmann, again, that Steam Vents and Breeding Pool, those are mountains like the ones next to it.
Yeah, non-basic mountains, but mountains nonetheless.
And there you do see the very powerful enchantment. Been reprinted many a time and has had effects on Modern. Kind of like a wave. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's mediocre. It's been pretty good over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. This is not the week you want to lose to Blood Moon. Blood Moon's right on the tip of people's tongue. It's right in the forefront because people saw how many free wins there were 2 weeks ago. A lot of people want to be on board with those free wins. This is a week to not lose to Blood Moon.
You see there's Vidalcan Shackles right now in Nguyen's hand as well. He would like to be able to deploy that and start taking creatures and all the things that go along with that. He does leave the shields down here, of course, but he doesn't have much of a choice.
This is the last turn. He's going to be shields down now.
Yep.
If Dickmann doesn't win this turn, it is very possible that he'll be locked out.
There's a bolt going upstairs, so Dickmann says, maybe I'm on the aggro plan. I'll put you down to 10, and attack would put you down to 7, or I could draw a 4th land, and if I have Splinter Twin, it'll put you down to way less than 0.
Yeah, like -4.
Doesn't look like he's drawing his 4th land, so he's going to be into the red zone yet again. Nguyen is going to maybe go down to 7 here. He does have that lightning bolt, and he's going to shoot down the Pester Mite.
At this point, he just wants to preserve his life total.
Yeah.
He already tasted 1 lightning bolt to the face.
Doesn't want to do that again. So Dickmann just has to pass the turn back yet again, which is 3 mountains in play as Nguyen draws a Serum Visions for the turn. You see a Snapcaster Mage in his hand. He's going to start off with the draw spell. So he's going to add 1, and then it's time to scry.
This is what we talk about, the free wins. Blood Moon is not a card that just automatically beats Turbo Twin. I mean, they have access to a lot of basics, a lot of ways to fetch them, a lot of interaction, a lot of combos they can do right through Blood Moon. But some percentage of the time, you're going to draw your other cards, and you're just not going to be able to cast your spells.
Yep. Next thing is obviously quite difficult. It looks like we're going to leave both on top here with Serum Visions. That's got to be scary if you're Dickmann. Just passing the turn back now. Jackal's actually one of the better cards against Twin Dead, too.
Oh, definitely.
See, he's going to take this right away and just leave up the Steam Vents / Mountain. As Dickmann just has to pass the turn back yet again. Going to leave the Shackles tapped to keep control of that Deceiver Exarch. As Nguyen does draw a copy of Sulphur Falls, which will be a mountain. He's going to start by attacking for 1, and we might see him just drop the Batter Skull here, if he has one. Again, there's nothing right now I think Nguyen has to be afraid of, right?
I mean, unless there's some kind of craziness with like Ancient Grudge or something.
Sure. And there is Batter Skull. So
the worst thing that could happen to him is if the basics come down, or then again, I guess if there's one more lightning bolt, you know, if he gets an island, he could Snapcaster a lightning bolt. That would be pretty hot.
Ooh, that's a Sulphur Falls.
Oh, it looks like he even has the Snapcaster too.
And he's going to concede the game right away. So Richard Nguyen, off of the back of Blood Moon, is going to win game number 1 here over Patrick Dickmann. Blue Moon up a game over Tarmo Twin, as one of these players is going to be undefeated after day 1. We're going to take a look at the sideboards here. I've got Richard Nguyen's in front of me, so I'll take a look at these 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 copies of Combust. There's 2 up here that I'm going to go through last, but a Counterflux, a Dispel, a Flame Slash, a Hibernation, a Relic of Regenesis, 2 Spellskites, 2 Vandal Blast, and yes, 2 Calcite Snapper.
They never see it coming.
They definitely don't. The aggro plan can engage. Now, do you know what calcite snapper is? Do you remember?
Yeah. It's like not even a long time ago.
Come on, fire away.
All right, it's 1 UU for a 1/4 creature that has landfall of switches power and toughness. It also, and here's the important part, has Shroud. Now, the sick thing about calcite snapper,
Does it have Shroud?
yeah, that's the whole joke. So it's a 1/4 hexproof creature, a Shroud creature that gives you a way that if somebody has a lot of spot removal, you can just keep bashing them for 4 a turn if they don't have any blockers. Now, I don't know that this is the matchup for it because obviously Deceiver XR can fight it so easily, but and it's kind of hot because sometimes if you have fetch lands, you can like switch it back and forth in the middle of the same turn. But mostly it's just a 1/4 creature. It's for the most part a virtual 4/1 Shroud creature, which can be really good against somebody like, for instance, a blue-white-red control deck, which is likely to take their Supreme Verdicts out after sideboarding because you're playing Blue Moon. I mean, what are they going to do there? And then they have Lightning Bolt, Lightning Helix, Path to Exile, none of which is any good against calcite snapper. Their big hope is they survive long enough to block with a Colonnade, but even then they're just trading.
This is part of the reason you don't want to play Patrick in Mental Magic, by the way, because I did not know calcite snapper had Shroud. It's been a little while since I've played that limited format.
Oh yeah, this card's fine. This is definitely not an embarrassing card at all. It's not played a lot in Modern right now, but that's largely because so many people were just so focused on beating Combo and beating Zoo that an anti-control card like Calcite Snapper didn't appear on a lot of people's radars. After winning the Pro Tour last week, sounds like a lot of people, Nguyen included, wanted to have an extra weapon against these control decks.
As far as cards that Nguyen is probably going to sideboard in this matchup, Combust, obviously. We could see Counterflux, we could see Dispel, Spellskite as well. So he's definitely got some nice options here. As far as on Dickmann's side, he's got a bunch of 2-ofs and 1-ofs as well. 2 Dispel, 2 Ancient Grudge, 2 Anger of the Gods, 2 Threads of Disloyalty, along with a Negate, a Nature's Claim, a Thrun, a Combust, a Batterskull, a Spellskite, and an Engineered Explosives. What do you like there?
Well, let's see. On Nguyen's side, definitely the Combusts. Beyond that, and Spellskite. I mean, Spellskite and Combust are obvious easy wins. And then I don't mind Counterflux. It's a little slow, but it's possible. I don't know about Hibernation either, because the nice thing about Hibernation is that he has Blood Moon, and it was so effective this game, I got to imagine he's going to keep it. But if he Hibernations with Blood Moon in play, he can lock out whatever Scavenging Ooze or Tarmogoyf actually hit.
Okay.
Now, on Dickmann's side, there's Negate, Nature's Claim. I think he's going to play Ancient Grudge because he's going to expect Spellskite, and he already saw Shackles and Batterskull.
Yep.
There's Spellskite of his own, which I don't know if this is the matchup for that. I mean, often the twin decks can take advantage of it, but I don't think it's at his best here. The big thing is if he has access to any... Oh, he does not have Threads of... Oh, he does have... Okay, good. I was going to say, if he has access to Threads of Disloyalty, Threads of Disloyalty is an interesting one because it's so good against him, but here, I don't think that, like, against Blue Moon, that it's going to do enough. I mean, it can threaten to take a Spellskite, but beyond that, most of your options, like Snapcaster Mage, not so good to hit.
I think what's interesting is that the fact that Dickmann does have Threads, and I think Nguyen might be of the opinion of, like, I don't think that's a card that she would sideboard in, and I think this is something that Sean McLaren kind of used to great advantage when he won the Pro Tour, of just like, I don't expect you to board that card in against me, and you can kind of take someone by surprise by boarding it in against them. We saw Threads be insane for him in all 3 of his matches. The one that I remember the most is the fact that he took the Wall of Omens that had a Splinter Twin on it against Tim Rivera. And you would maybe think that, I don't know, I wouldn't expect maybe for him to sideboard Threads into that matchup, but it obviously played a huge role.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, the one other big possible ace is the Thrun. Having Thrun the last troll, Thrun can obviously force his way through any permission, big enough that he doesn't die to like Anger of the Gods, can't be targeted by stuff like Cryptic or Bolt, and can regenerate through a Stormbreath Dragon or a Batterskull for the most part.
So there are a lot of options on both sides for these players. We're going to get into probably a pretty reactive game here between the 2 players. But in that first game, you gotta say that Blood Moon was really, really good. Now, we see one card here in the main deck of Nguyen's deck list that's a little bit different.
Exotic. Yes.
Exotic is a good word to use. Surgical Extraction.
Yeah, most people are not going to expect the main deck Surgical Extraction out of the blue-red counterspell deck.
Kind of a free roll is not the right word, but it definitely is.
Free roll is definitely not the right word.
Yeah, it's definitely not the right word, but the fact that it works out pretty well with Snapcaster Mage is nice.
Oh yeah,
You get to do it twice.
And he when so far correctly predicted that this was going to be a format full of Snapcaster Mages, where Surgical really shines. And then look at the other popular decks. I mean, Storm obviously gets completely shut down by a Surgical Extraction. It's often game-winning. If you play against a Malirapod deck, you're often going to be able to mess up their combo. So
Now,
here we just saw an exotic play as well.
Yeah, now, so a little bit earlier on Twitter, there was a mention of Patrick Dickmann taking the draw against Reed Duke. And,
Take the draw.
Yeah, and Jerry Thompson, this warms his heart because he loves to draw first, and Dickmann is doing it again. He's taking the draw in this matchup knowing that this is not a matchup about speed and me having to race. This is going to be kind of a grinded out affair. He's going to get Taxian Probe win. See, Vendilion Click, Spell Snare, 2 bolts, an island and a mountain. Scalding Tarn obviously in play, but I love watching somebody draw first.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know,
I love it.
Wafo I think, has chosen to draw more than like anybody else percentage-wise in Constructed. It's crazy.
You ever draw with 5-color?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I played Wafo at a Grand Prix in Italy a few years back, and he played it against me. He wins the die roll, chooses to draw, and I'm like, you just played Booker last round, same matchup, and you chose to play against him. And he said, yes, but against you, I draw. What is that?
He's got you pegged, man. He knows you wanted to draw. He knows. He's got you pegged all the way.
It's the same matchup.
It doesn't matter. He knows you. See, Scalding Tarn's going to search out an island here, and Nguyen's going to go down to 19. Oh, Guillaume. He doesn't. When is the day where Guillaume has to play an aggressive deck? Does it exist?
So I saw him a broken man a few years ago at the World Championships in Italy, in Rome. He was playing Hypergenesis in Extended. Like we every Pro Tour, we eventually show each other our decks because we're always fans of seeing each other's work. Whenever we don't test together, we want to see the work of the other. And he's embarrassed. He can't even face me, and he just slides it across the table and turns his head in shame. You know, I was playing a control deck, and he said he couldn't do it. He couldn't make it work. He couldn't even come close. He gave up. But after that tournament, I mean, he bombed out with Hypergenesis, and the control deck was actually decent. And he said after that, never again.
Yep.
He says, never again. After that, so nothing but control forever. And then they reprinted Mana Leak, and it's been good times.
So in that previous turn, we saw Nguyen play a Serum Visions. He scried 1 to the top, 1 to the bottom. You're going to see him cast Serum Visions again. He's going to scry. We'll see how he does scry, excuse me. But more importantly, Dickmann, after playing a Taxian Probe, and then playing the Hinterland Harbor, he discarded on turn 2 a Pestermite, and don't forget, he chose to draw and kept. So this is a little bit interesting here.
Yeah, he kept on the draw, like a Taxian Probe and a land, and he surely has some 2-drops in his hand.
Yeah, almost assuredly. As you see, Nguyen's going to play a Sulfur Falls and pass the turn. Now there's a Breeding Pool, so now we're going to get to see some magic.
Now
again.
we are in business.
He's going to play this untapped. He's going to go down to 16. Don't forget the 2 from the Probe deal, put him down to 18. Let's see what the follow-up's going to be. See if he can work his way out of this, too. It's going to be a Scavenging Ooze.
To draw out the Spell Snare or a Bolt. Yep. It's interesting, he leads with this so that if Nguyen uses the Spell Snare, the Tarmogoyf will be safe.
Yeah.
But if he bolts it here, it's not clear that the Spell Snare is going to do what he wants because it's possible that Dickmann is actually just going up to the combo.
Nguyen is going upstairs with Lightning Bolt again. He's been very, very aggressive and proactive with his Lightning Bolts, just firing one off on the end step.
You can't, this is wild. This is like, who just lets it spray? They just walk out into the street, just pumping the shotgun, just sending a message to the neighborhood. Richard Nguyen is in town.
Bolt you once, bolt you twice. As here is Serum Visions number 3. We'll see how he wants to scry. Looks like he's going to leave. He's looking at a counterflux that he was going to leave on top. He's still considering his options. Might leave both cards on top now, and he is.
That's not even that far from discarding it. That's like sending you a message.
It's a very aggressive use of Lightning Bolt.
Yes.
Now here's a spell Sky.
Patrick Sullivan would be proud.
That's true. I'm sure he's watching at home, too. So Dickmann's going to draw a card. There's an island, so he's working his way out of this small mana problem he had. Now he's going to pass the turn back.
Patrick Sullivan, I think, is the first person I saw that when turn 1 Lightning Bolt you on just in the dark immediately, and I was like, you know what? I bet you're right to be doing that right now. And he's like, yeah, they could have Dispel.
Yeah.
Just got to get it out there.
Yeah. Let them know where they stand.
Yeah.
You see Nguyen's hand right now, he does have that copy of Vidalcan Shackles again, also has another copy of Lightning Bolt, and a Vendilion Click, I believe, is the 3rd card in his hand. Spellskite doing a nice job of protecting everything.
Yeah, I mean, once you have a Spellskite down, the you have so much more breathing room, particularly when you know somebody's behind. I mean, he discarded. He doesn't have any red mana.
So Dickmann just draws his card and he says, all right, just pass back.
You've already got him down to 13.
Yep. Thank you very much, Lightning Bolt, as Nguyen is going to sacrifice a Misty Rainforest. Going to get another basic. That's an island. Of course, if he does draw Blood Moon at any point, it will still be pretty good here. Not as backbreaking, I think, as the last game because Dickmann has a basic island, but still good.
I don't know if you even cast Blood Moon here. You might actually lose.
Just because you give him red mana?
Yeah,
Okay.
because he still has Pestermite Deceiver Exarch. He could drop Splinter Twin. You know, maybe all he needs is the red mana to Ancient Grudge your Spellskite. Stuff could fall apart. Like, everything's going okay right now. Don't add any variance right now.
Vendilion Click's going to get remanded. You see Batterskull's the draw, and Nguyen decides, I'm going to get that down right now.
This is a real good line by Nguyen. This is a nice conservative. He knows he's got a temporary advantage. Batterskull's a great way to press it. Basically, completely shutting out any possibility of a backup plan, and the Spellskite shutting down any possibility of the forward plan.
So let's see. I mean, Dickmann's life total, he's at 13 right now. We know he has a Misty Rainforest, so that puts him at basically 12. Maybe less if he searches up the Steam Vents or a breeding pool, what have you. So his life total is all of a sudden underneath the rest, and we know that Nguyen does have another Lightning Bolt in his hand.
Now, what I want to see, just to make it interesting, Misty Rainforest, fetch up the Steam Vents or Stomping Ground, Ancient Grudge.
Just get those two things off of the board. We have
The
a brand new
problem
game.
is that is not a man who is currently celebrating winning the lottery. If he actually had Ancient Grudge in this position,
Yeah.
he would be bouncing off the walls. There's not a man alive who would be able to keep this kind of a poker face.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be waiting to fire off that Ancient Grudge. That's for
Goes
sure.
into the tank for 2 minutes, comes out with, okay, Ancient Grudge, everything.
Yeah, yeah. It's your turn. So there is the Misty.
So is that a zombie token, a BBD?
That is a Brian Brunduin and Germ token.
Germ token, I
Yes.
love it. The best kind of germ token.
Now here is a Steam Vent. So Dickmann's going to go down to 10 now from this fetch. And again, you get an attack from a Batterskull, puts him down to 6. All of a sudden you're in double bolt range. As now here is Thrun, the last troll. Dickmann deciding, you know what, I have to tap out to cast this thing. And I'll be really interested to see if he ends up having to block with it. If he just decides I don't have time. Maybe he just decides I don't have time to regenerate it. I just have to block with it now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, it's certainly very aggressive to be bolted on turn 3 from the control deck, but like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's so good of an answer if he just keeps it back.
here's the thing, though. Like, with Nguyen bolting him like he did, like, that leads you to believe that he has at least one other bolt, right? Because he's not just firing away with the first bolt. So you have to believe that, you know, he probably has at least one other bolt in his hand.
Yeah, but what's your long-term plan if you're on the, like, if you jump with the Thrun now, how is it getting better for you?
I mean, it'll at least buy you a little bit of time for Batterskull won't be attacking for a couple turns.
Very little amount of time.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
I think you got to wait one turn because the possibility of Thrun blocking and regenerating every turn is actually like a realistic plan to get out of this game.
Yep.
It's not a great plan. I mean, you're way behind, but at least it is a plan.
So in for 4 comes the Batterskull. Dickmann's going to go down to 6. And something as simple as Bolt, Snapcaster Bolt ends the game, but we don't think he has that right now, does Nguyen. I think he would have fired that off. So let's see what else he's got. Looks like he was considering Vidalcan Shackles.
Yes.
And he's just going to pass.
He decides, he thinks better of it because, you know what? Why open myself up to losing to anything? Because, like, if the Ancient Grudge hits the Spellskite and then hits the Batterskull, he could actually fall behind.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I mean, he's so far ahead, he just wants to nurse his lead.
He can take a relatively conservative approach here. Dickmann did just draw a Batterskull. He's got an Electrolyze, and he's got a lot of twin effects in his hand. It looks like he's got multiple copies of Deceiver Exarch, may have a Pestermite, and just has to pass the turn back yet again. Now, don't forget, Nguyen does have that copy of Vendilion Click still in his hand, so he can force a little bit of action here. That's what we're going to see.
This is for the win.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
And there's a remand, so Dickmann says, you can't do that again. And there's a Spell Snare, so Nguyen says, actually, yes, I can. A little bit of a counter war. We don't see this a ton. There's a Dispel. So Dickmann's going to win the counter war, but all that nets him as a card, and the Vendilion Click is still a problem because it's obviously still in Nguyen's hand since remand resolves.
But it is one less attacker,
Yeah.
which in this case would be fatal.
You take a look, though, you know, Dickmann had to have that counter war. He's only got 1 mana available now, so Thrun again cannot regenerate.
And now he has to block.
He has to block, and he knows it. So down goes Thrun, down goes the Batterskull token for now. But of course, we could see something as simple as equip Batterskull over to Spellskite. That's a 4-power attacker. So
yeah. Plus, I mean, the Vendilion Click is gonna see that the party is over.
Yep. So Dickmann looks like he drained land for this turn, and he is in a bad way right now. As there's a Scalding Tarn.
To add insult to injury, it's gonna do damage to him.
Mm-hmm. And you see, he is anguished.
He knows it's
right
rough.
Now. Yeah.
It's a rough spot.
What can he do to get himself out of the situation? If there's a player that's capable, it's certainly him with his experience playing this deck.
God, it's always so tough too when you know that you can just read them. You know for sure that they have stuff in their hand,
yep.
But you're at the point where I can no longer play around that. I have to just, even though I know you have it just from reading you,
yep.
I have to just hope that my read is wrong.
Yep. Hope that maybe you make a mistake.
And in this spot, unfortunately for Patrick, his read is not wrong.
So Vendilion Click's going to be placed on the stack yet again by Nguyen. Dickmann looking at a card like Cryptic Command in his hand right now, which it's okay.
I mean, there's always Cryptic the Vendilion, bounce the Batterskull.
Yep. He's going to sacrifice Scalding Tarn before this resolves. So we'll see what land he wants to search up here. If it will be a basic island or if it will be something else. Looks like he might be searching. Okay, so he's going to go for Mountain. I thought he might be searching for a Steam Vents or a Stomping Ground. But
yeah, unfortunately, going to 3 would have him dead on the spot.
Yeah, he obviously can't do that, so.
Yep. So here he wants the second red to give him the option, the out of Twin, because he already has the Deceiver and Pestermite stuff.
Okay. There's Deceiver XR. So this is again with Vendilion Click on the stack. Interesting. Let's see what this is going to target.
Likely untap a mana, let him cast a Pestermite. But the problem with this order is that now the Pestermite. Oh, excellent.
I like this play too. He's targeting 1 and 1. I believe this is all with Click's trigger on the stack. So he's targeting Spellskite 1 and Vendilion Click 1, which means that since it has 2 targets.
Yeah.
And
the Spellskite's already being hit for 1. Because the Spellskite is already hit for 1, it can't redirect the other point.
Correct.
If he had hit the player, he could just redirect one of them.
Yep.
So this is a real smart play by Patrick. It's tough because the Batterskull is still going to present a pretty big threat eventually, and he still has that bolt in his hand. If he bolts Patrick's face, now the Deceiver is going to have to chump, and then he's lost his counterplay.
Now, here's the thing. We mentioned, Dickmann maybe in this situation needs to hope that Nguyen makes a mistake. Now, we haven't seen Nguyen do something along the lines of equip Spellskite with Batterskull and attack, because let's take, for instance, the last turn where he just attacked with his Batterskull and traded with the Thrun.
Yep.
We could have seen him just say, okay, equip my Spellskite that turn, attack with a 4/6. He still has the block, but now the equip part of the equation is out. And also, Spellskite having 8 toughness, I mean, there's no killing that outside of Grudge, so maybe Dickmann's hoping that he doesn't know to equip the Spellskite with the old Batterskull, for example.
It is very, very possible. It's interesting doing this with the without the trigger being chosen.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would think that Nguyen would choose the target first. Or perhaps he already did. We'll see. It looks like this exact point. Yep.
All right, so here's a Misty, here's a Cryptic, there's a Snapcaster, a Batterskull, and a Deceiver XR. So one of those cards potentially goes to the bottom, and Dickmann draws a mystery card. You see Nguyen's going to consult the graveyard here.
Yeah, it's real tempting to take that, to take either Cryptic Command or Snapcaster Mage in this position, but sometimes the evil you know is better than the evil you don't know.
This is true. He's got all that information right now, and that's a lot of information to digest right there. Snapcaster Mage can be a bevy of things. Cryptic Command, obviously 4 modes. You don't know which 2 Dickmann's going to choose. You can guess, I suppose, to the best of your ability. Exarch can provide some time. Batterskull actually looks pretty good on this board because gaining life is certainly important for Patrick. And obviously, you can't take the Misty Rainforest, but another land coming weighs in the equation as well.
It's interesting. And even the Deceiver Exarch has some appeal because of the fact that this Deceiver is going to have to chump this turn.
Yep.
And so that Deceiver represents half of a combo kill if he can find an answer to Spellskite. But the problem is, any card you take, if you take any card, is one card closer to Ancient Grudge, Patrick's greatest hope of getting back into this game.
You see Nguyen again, still consulting his hand. He's got that Vidalcan Shackles, a Bolt.
He does take the Snapcaster Mage.
Right.
Let it ride.
Mystery card coming for Dickmann, but we won't see
He
it for
did
a little
not
bit.
bolt Patrick, which means, so he does have the land in his hand, but if he just equipped the Batter Skull, he could get in there and kind of be like, you don't know. How do you know I have a land and a bolt?
Yeah, and that might be what he does here. So what are we going to see here? 2, 3. This feels like a Shackles turn to me, maybe? Yep, it's a Shackles turn. Okay.
And see, I like just presenting lethal and forcing him to chump because he's not getting out of this if you keep him under the gun.
But that's what I mean, because, you know, there might be a little bit of tunnel vision here from Nguyen where he's thinking, yeah, Spellskite's just no for that stops Twin. It's not this thing that I can equip Batter Skull to and attack for a bunch of damage. And I think Dickmann may realize that, or is hoping that that's what's happening and is playing the game that way.
Yep. You're exactly right.
So Dickmann's going to play Misty Rainforest. He's going to sacrifice. He's probably going to search out a basic here. Because, again, can't afford to take a bunch of damage, and he can play around Lightning Bolt, so here's an island.
He is so in the market for Ancient Grudge.
Yeah.
Even Nature's Claim would be a start, but my goodness. And he's running out of time. There's not a lot of time left to try to find Ancient Grudge.
Now, he does have 2 copies of Cryptic Man. One that he had when Vendilion Click was cast, and Vendilion Click's trigger actually picked up another one. So now here's the Serum Visions. Let's see what this is going to pick up.
Looking for Ancient Grudge in Nature's Claim.
Bang.
Oh my God. I love the composure of Dickmann too. Oh, is that a, does he have the combo? Oh my God. Oh my God. I love that he's acting so stressed out too. This is, wow, that's a man who deserves everything that just happened to him in the last 30 seconds.
One to the top, one to the bottom. So he's found his copy of Ancient Grudge.
Now what?
And he's just going to pass the turn back. Okay. Activate. Shackles. Take your Deceiver Exarch.
Now this is interesting. What do you do here? There's so, like, now this is the spot where Nguyen has the least amount of mana that he's going to realistically have. You cannot be so greedy as to think he's going to crack that Tarn.
Here is Grudge targeting.
Oh, now he's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I have a Spellskite. Hold on a minute. Boy, this is going to get interesting here. Now, don't forget here as well, Patrick. There's a Lightning Bolt in Nguyen's hand. Dickmann is at a virtual 1 right now.
This is so intense. Because if he just hits him with the Deceiver Exarch, the Lightning Bolt is fatal.
Yes. So we got Ancient Grudge currently on the stack, targeting Vidalcan Shackles with the Shackles trigger on the stack. The Shackles activation, excuse me. So, do we want to redirect?
The mental game of hitting the Shackles instead of the Spellskite first is so intense.
All right, so he says, I'm going to pay 2. I'm going to move it over. And Dickmann says, that's fine. That thing's gone. Now, Vidalcan Shackles is still on the stack.
So now are we going to see the flashback of the Grudge hitting the Shackles? Because you don't, like, you have to hit the Shackles here, right? Like, you can't worry about the Batter Skull. You don't have that kind of time.
Okay, so Dickmann's hand right now, he has an Exarch in his hand, so what he can do is he can play an Exarch, untap a, he can play an Exarch, he can untap a Breeding Pool, and then flashback Grudge.
This is so hot. This is intense.
All right, so that's what he's going to do. All right, so Grudge shows up at the perfect time. Okay.
There is justice in the world. Wow.
When he's going to sacrifice Scalding Tarn. He's going to go down to 21. And don't forget as well that Dickmann played Serum Visions. He scribed 1 to the top, 1 to the bottom. The 2 cards that he looked at were Splinter Twin and Pestermite. I think I've got a feeling what's on top of his deck. Ooh. I got just an inkling on what's on the top there.
Man, Magic is awesome. This is incredible.
So Nguyen's hand right now, again, there's a Lightning Bolt hanging out. There's a Batter Skull in play.
How did we get into a spot where it looks like Nguyen is going to lose?
We have to rewind the tape. That's what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
And it's far from over, though. Think about it. If Nguyen draws a Snapcaster Mage, it's dead on the spot.
Let's see what that draw is going to be. That is a land.
Wow. What is he going to do to not lose this turn?
This?
And he knows that Patrick kept a card.
Yep.
What do you keep in this spot besides you're dead?
This is 3 mana. This is that. Is this another Vendilion Click?
Oh, because if it is, that's great. That hits the Splinter. Oh, no. You can't do it now.
Splinter's one's on top.
The twin is on top. You can't do it now.
And he's thinking, okay, so when... Here's
he needed to wait. The twin is on top of the deck.
Here's the hand.
It's
Batter
too
Skull,
late.
Cryptic.
Oh, no. Oh, no. He actually could have lived a turn if he would have waited, right?
Yeah.
Because if he Cryptics the Vendilion... Oh, no. This is crazy, though.
Will Nguyen take a card? No, we believe that Splinter Twin is on the top of Dickmann's deck. You see Nguyen is looking at a Lightning Bolt and a land.
So close. He's got the bolt in his hand. Although, in all honesty, this is where you start to wonder, maybe was that turn 3 Lightning Bolt a little hasty?
Yeah.
Because it would be nice to have Patrick at 7 and an extra
And
Lightning Bolt in your
yeah.
hand.
You see Nguyen, okay, can I beat a Batter Skull? Can I beat 2 copies of Cryptic Command? Can I beat 1 copy of Cryptic Command if I take one of those? Can I beat the Batter Skull? Maybe I put that to the bottom. Not knowing what his opponent kept on top of his deck, all that he knows is that Dickmann kept the card, so now there goes Batter Skull. He gets to draw a card. It could be anything. Dickmann's going to untap.
I think we're going to game 3.
He's going to draw.
Oh my God.
That is a copy of Remand. He's going to cast Splinter Twin.
He even has it protected now. Unbelievable.
Nguyen says that's fine. Nguyen says I'm going to infinite you. We are going to go to a 3rd game of Magic.
Unbelievable. Oh, okay, there's the smile. Can't help it now.
He missed his 2nd land drop.
That's why you choose to draw. Get that extra card. Get a chance to see one more card. In this game, being 1 card got him 1 card closer to Ancient Grudge. So good. So good.
Okay.
That was a pretty intense game, too.
He can play a little bit of Magic with the twin deck, I would say, for Patrick Dickmann. And this one isn't even over. We've got a 3rd and final game here to wrap up day number 1 in Richmond. What a game of Magic.
Wow, and he had to do all that to put himself in a position to get lucky so that if he drew the grudge, he'd have a chance to have to even try to come back so that he could tie it up to go into a game 3 where he's on the draw. Or no, he might. Oh, I wonder. Do you think Nguyen is going to respect the decision?
Now, okay, I was going to bring this up to
Yeah.
you. So this is a little game of one-upsmanship, right?
Yeah.
Where now Nguyen has the option. Normally, I would say, oh, yeah, Richard Nguyen's going to play first, and we'll take a look at the sideboards and stuff. But now, it's a little game of one-upsmanship. Is he going to draw first? And if he chooses to draw, does that change Dickmann's plan? Think, oh, he's going to try to draw now, so I'm going to get a little more aggressive on him.
That's what I love. I love when you choose to draw and the other person's like, you know what, I got enough respect. I'm going to choose to draw just on principle.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be trying to draw if you didn't mean it.
Yeah.
Man, we're about to find out how much does Richard Nguyen respect Patrick's game.
After that game, I would think quite a bit. I certainly would hope so.
Oh my gosh.
If you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Chapin, Grand Prix Richmond presented by Star City Games. If you are just joining us, you just missed one heck of a game between Patrick Dickmann and Richard Nguyen. At SCG Live, hashtag GPRichmond for your tweets all weekend long, as we do have our 3rd and final game to conclude day 1 of the largest constructed tournament of all time. And if that game is any representation of what we're here to see, not only in this next game, but for tomorrow, this tournament's been fantastic.
Oh, no question. And that game right there is such a miraculous comeback. I mean, we asked professional poker player Eric Froelich what the odds were, and he said that it was 99.9% that Richard Nguyen was going to win. So it's unbelievable that Dickmann hit his 1 in a million shot to get out of this. It's unbelievable. Ancient Grudge off the top, last possible second with Splinter Twin. That's when you have Serum Visions and you draw the exact card you need and have the card on top that you need. Everything coming together. His hand even protected from the last second Vendilion click because of the twin being on top.
Not only that, has to fade some draw steps there.
Oh.
Bolt, Snapcaster.
All sorts of things, fetching all the right land at all the right times, including the end, the play at the end, realizing, I might as well put the second deceiver down. Let's fight after he uses the shackles, all sorts of things. And even in that game, it could have gone such a different way. There were so many different ways they both could have taken. It's so hard to tell which of the lines would have ended up at the same result. Unbelievable magic. An excellent and fitting conclusion to day one here at Grand.
It's not
Richmond.
even over.
No, I know, but this is a match worthy
Yes.
of taking it home tonight.
And we talked about at the top of this match, about familiarity with your deck and, the fact that Dickmann flew over here from Europe post-Pro Tour because, he's on the hunt for pro points and he feels very comfortable in this format. Yeah, this is like one of the last people I'd want to play against in this tournament.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even close.
Yeah. He's one of the hottest players in the game right now, and this is his format. This is the one where, his lifetime win his win percentage in the last year in this format's like 80-something%, which is just unreal.
He's got a Grand Prix championship with Twin already, a different build than this one. But he won a Grand Prix in Europe with this deck. Then he top fours the Pro Tour last weekend with this very close. I don't know if he's changed any cards. If there are changes, they are
very minor.
Very minor at best. And now he's got Tarmo Twin again. He's starting to an 8-0 start. And he got to win one more game to start 9-0. Unbelievable stuff.
Meanwhile,
unbelievable.
We haven't even seen some of Nguyen's new tricks. It is very possible that he ends up surprising Dickmann with the Storm Breath Dragon, the surgical extraction. I don't think he's going to calcite snap, but once you have the snapper available to you, your range definitely a little wider. Hard to know for sure what you're going to do. All right, both players taking a look at their 7.
Twitter is blowing up right now. We've got people, best game of Magic I've ever seen.
Dude, that was unbelievable.
Yeah. Just the will to not lose is incredible.
All right, it looks like Dickmann's definitely satisfied with his 7, but Nguyen, not quite as sure.
That means Nguyen chose to draw.
I love it.
That means he chose to draw. So let's see. Let's see exactly what he's going to do here. He's going to keep. We are going to be underway in just a moment. All right. Okay, so Nguyen did choose. Looks like Nguyen. Okay, so he chose to play. So he's going to play a Misty Rainforest, search for an island. And let's see if he's got anything else to do on this particular turn. He wants to make sure, of course, that he is searching for the right land. He's actually going to go get a Steam Vents. He's going to take 2 to do that, which is going to make his Blood Moon a little bit worse. Given the fact that, again, he's going to be searching for a non-basic in his Blood Moon deck, but we'll see what ends up happening here. So he's going to play, looks like, we'll see if it's going to come into play tapped, untapped, all that good stuff. He's going to play a Serum Vision. So going to draw a card, take a look at the top 2. Looking at it, looks like 2 islands. One's going to go on top, one's going to go on the bottom. He's going to pass the turn back over to Dickmann. So Nguyen did choose to play. I thought maybe he chose to draw because Dickmann kept his hand really quickly, but it looks like he chose to play. Now here's your Gataxian Probe. So let's see what Nguyen's working with, which is, oh boy.
It's interesting. He kept only 1 island. He had access to 2. He kept 1 on top, 1 on the bottom, despite having no third land and having Storm Breath Dragon in his hand.
So you see a hand of Bolt, Blood Moon, a Spell Snare, a Snapcaster Mage, and the Storm Breath Dragon.
Storm Breath Dragon losing a little bit of his punch when you know about it ahead of time.
Yeah. So Dickmann knows what he's got to worry about now, which again is multiple copies of Lightning Bolt, Snapcaster Mage, Spell Snare. He knows that a Blood Moon could be on the horizon, and then Storm Breath Dragon. So Dickmann will draw a card. It's a Snapcaster Mage. So he wants to lead out here. And again, both players need to be a little bit cognizant of time in the round as well, because again, we're at about 6 minutes. We're under 7. We're working our way towards under 5, and both players' pace, I think, has been perfectly fine. It's been a little bit deliberate. And for Dickmann, he can kill out of nowhere. So
every turn is a potentially lethal turn.
Yeah. But for Richard Nguyen, it's got to get moving because you don't want to draw. Draw's about as good as a loss, given the context of this tournament, how many people are here. Dickmann's going to play Misty Rainforest and pass the turn back. Bolt's going to go upstairs.
Wow. There's just literally no fear. It's like, I don't know if I will ever have 1 mana to spare in the future ever again.
Yeah. You saw Spellskite was the draw here for Nguyen.
What if Patrick plays a Scavenging Ooze? That's like, there's like very reasonable plays.
I'm not going to say I agree with the lightning bolt plays that have happened here from Richard Nguyen.
I like the psychological edge it gives, though.
Yeah.
That's like, it's tilting. It's like this. No, it is. It's like, this is a man who is just, you know, you're walking out of church, you're with your kid, you're with your cousin, you're having some, you know, just chats on your way to a picnic, and he comes up and he just smacks your kid in the head. He just sends you a message right outside of church. That's weird. That's weird. So Patrick now
I was wondering where that was going, but I actually like where we ended up.
So Patrick faces a Spellskite now, slowing things down. It's the old Lightning Bolt 04 plan.
Yeah. It's a bold strategy.
Yeah, no, it's not outside of the norm for Modern. I mean, that's what kinds of things people who play Modern do. It's crazy. Like, that's how you win in this format, is you put together really good cards that do different things, and you end up in these exotic board states, and whoever knows their deck better has the edge.
Dickmann looked a little unsure of himself if he wanted to sacrifice Misty Rainforest or not. Because he could have shortcutted and sacrificed them both. It leads me to believe that maybe he doesn't have a third land in his hand, potentially.
Yep.
Because
Very
I mean,
possible.
he sacrificed and he's like, okay, I guess I'll sacrifice the other one.
It's also possible, he's like, I wonder if Nguyen drew a lava spike. Like,
Sure.
You don't know if there's just going to be a flurry and you just have to take the sinkhole right now, take it as a loss.
He's going to search out a basic forest. So obviously Dickmann is playing around Blood Moon to the best
Which
of his
he
ability.
knows.
Yeah, which he knows from the Gataxian Pro. He's going to take a draw here. That's a copy of Splinter Twin. The question is, does he have another land? He does have a Flame Slash in his hand.
Looks like he has one more land, but he doesn't have the fourth land.
Okay, it's a Sulfur Pulse.
Although Ancient Grudge here is super good.
Yeah, and he's going to cast it right now. And he's not going to leave green mana up. He's going to leave blue mana up.
Yes.
Representing a card like a Dispel, a Spell Snare, something of that nature. Nguyen does not draw a third land. He passes the turn back over to Dickmann, who's going to draw. Looks like a land.
I suspect Nguyen is wishing at this point he had one more island in order to start ramping up.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think, Cryptic Command in his hand. So he's got a lot of live draws.
He's going to Lightning Bolt yet again.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah. Now here's a Pestermite. Hate to say I told you so.
No, but he's got another one, right?
Well, for his sake, I hope so.
Oh, no, he has Stormbreath Dragon and Blood Moon.
So now Pestermite is going to be played here. I have a feeling it's probably going to target the old Steam Vents, and it will. And I also believe that Patrick Dickmann has a copy of Splinter Twin in his hand.
Huh. So it looks like this is going to be a Splinter Twin to end it on a Pestermite with no way to deal with it.
Well, if Dickmann's willing to go for it right now, and assuming he has Splinter Twin in his hand, then
I think he's got to.
Yeah, I mean, the only card he is scared of is like a card like Swan Song. So that's going to resolve. And that is going to do
it.
it.
The game.
Patrick Dickmann wins this match 2-2, and he is 9-0 after day one here at Grand Prix Richmond.
Crazy. 9-0. Good for him. Good for him.